Okay, so growing up, obviously, there's one thing I've always done, and that's, always do the devil's tango. But one thing I will say is that there are some really weird places that I've done it in and kind of regretted. But this one place, I gotta say, was one of the most odd because, well, I ended up doing it in a playground. And the way this happened, obviously, was really immature and really unhealthy, so don't ever do this. But before we get into the story, make sure you guys press that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Seriously, it means a lot when you guys press that subscribe button, and it means a lot when you guys support the channel. Other than that, let's just jump straight into this embarrassing story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to a really embarrassing video. So today's story all starts off back when I was in high school, and this was my grade 10 year. Now in grade 10, I will say this, I was a total F-boy. I'm not joking. If anything was walking, it was done. Other than men, because I'm not gay, but still, you guys understand what I mean. My hormones were acting through the roof, and I was just being dumb and unmature the entire school year. And I remember one time when I was in high school, there was one girl that I always kind of, I guess, fancied. I don't know why, but this one specific girl was one of those girls that I felt like I could never pull. Like, for example, you guys know when you watch those movies and you see like that one girl that like the hero never ends up getting until he gets his superpowers? Well, me, the only superpower I had was my eggplant, and well, I guess in a way I never thought that that could work to pull this girl. But I remember one time I was sitting in my science class and I was just doing my science project, and this girl usually sat in front of me, and this girl was really hot, and one of the reasons why she was also so popular is because she was also in musical theater. For some reason in my high school, musical theater was like such a big deal, and usually it was the most attractive girls that would end up getting lead roles, and almost every year of my high school years, she was always getting the lead role in certain musicals. So me, obviously, I always found her really attractive because so did everyone else, and I guess it became a kind of a popular thing to, be attracted to this girl. But obviously in no way was I ever gonna get her attention because all I was known for was playing video games and doing the devil's tango. Anyways, like I was saying though, one time she sat in front of me in science class and I saw that she had no partner for a science project. For some reason, not a lot of people wanted to work with her because, well, even though she was really attractive, she wasn't, I guess, really smart. And me, obviously, me trying to be the nice guy and I guess trying to riz her up, I saw this as a golden opportunity to go up and talk to her and say, hey, like, what's going on? I heard you don't have a science partner. Is it cool if I maybe like work with you? Yeah, if you're down, sure. I will say though, I'm not really doing that well in this class. Oh no, it's cool. Like, I'm not either, but two heads are better than one, right? She ends up laughing and ends up actually giggling, and funny enough, me and her, we started working on the science project together, and it led to her telling me this. Hey, so what are you doing later on after school? I'm going home. I got work to do. I didn't work at this time, to be honest. I was playing Call of Duty. That was what I considered work, and it's funny nowadays because it's still kind of considered work for me, but you know what I mean. Going on from there, I remember basically she ends up telling me, oh, okay, well, I mean, if you're down, I was wondering if you wanted to, like, I don't know, maybe like hang out and like help me with the science project later after school. I ended up looking at her and said sure, and we ended up actually hanging out that day after school. But before we ended up hanging out, I will say this, a lot of people in my high school found out that I ended up getting a date with this girl, and everyone was freaking out. So many people were walking up to me trying to figure out how I did it, and a lot of girls were actually talking so much smack because, well, the chances were that I was just going to do the devil's tango and walk away. Even though that wasn't my intent. No, it definitely was my intention. I'm not even gonna lie to you. But going on with the story, I remember after school came around and me and her, we ended up meeting up at the front of the school, and we started just basically walking around the neighborhood. I lived in like a decent sized neighborhood. It was more of a city, but neighborhood, city, same stuff, different pile, right? And I remember as we were walking around, me and her, we ended up grabbing bubble tea and we ended up drinking and just talking about life, I guess. It's very bizarre to me because one of the conversations we were having is about how this girl, she was so popular, but for some reason in her own mind, she didn't realize it. Like, she always like told me how, like, it's really cool how I'm smart and stuff and how a lot of people know of me. But then I told her and said, do you realize like a lot of people know about you, right? Oh, like, what do you mean? You're basically the hottest girl in the school. No, I'm not. You know how many girls there are in the school? Yeah, I get that, but do you realize how many guys are into you? Yeah, I don't know. They're just weird. Like, what? Like, it's weird to me how, like, even nowadays when I meet up with like chicks from high school, they literally don't realize how popular they actually were, and they're like, oh nah, it was just high school. Like, no, you were popular. You were well known. You do realize like I was irrelevant in high school. Like it blows my mind how much they don't actually understand when it comes to like high school life, I guess. But that just goes to show to anyone that's in high school right now, the people that are popular or considered popular in your school, chances are after high school, they're gonna be little to nothing. Anyways, going on from there, I remember basically me and her, we ended up doing the whole thing walking around. And for some reason, when I told her that she was basically the most attractive girl in the school, school, she really started to fall for me. She really started to say things like, oh, like no one's ever been so honest before like you. And like, oh, like no one's like really been like real with me like you are. To be fair, I guess a lot of the guys in my school were just telling her what she wanted to hear. But as for me, I just told her the goddamn truth of what I was seeing and observant of. Basically showed the facts because her Instagram DMs were always filled with guys in our school trying to like rizz her up. And I guess I was the one guy that never did that. Anyways, one thing led to another. It was getting really late at night. It was around 9 p.m. and I remember me and her, we were still like basically hanging out. And I told her if, you know, she wanted to come back to my place, but she said that she was not allowed to go to people's houses super late at night. And I respected that. Honestly, even though we were high schoolers, we still respected our parents' rules. I know that a lot of people don't do that nowadays, but still I did. And so did she, I guess. And then one thing led to another. We ended up going to a playground. Now this playground was a city playground. It was like really well known throughout my city. And basically a lot of kids would go on there and play, except after 5 p.m. because obviously people would go home, and it was also a school night that night. And I remember me and her, we ended up going to the playground, and we ended up basically like, you know, just hanging out and just sitting down on the playground like normal, I guess, teenagers would. I don't know, a lot of teenagers just go to the playgrounds to like, you know, hit their vape. But me personally, I didn't vape back in high school. I was actually normal. So I remember I basically just sat there and just kind of just ended up talking to her. But one thing led to another. When we were sitting down beside each other inside the playground, we ended up getting really close, and she leaned into me. And when she leaned into me, I did what I had to do, and I kissed her. Me and her kissed, and we actually ended up making out, and then I ended up laying down on top of her. And well, you guys kind of understand the picture of where this is going. Basically, me and her, we were going to do the devil's tango. But right before it actually happened, I remember she looks over at me and says, Baba, I don't want to do it right on the playground. Yeah, that's cool. Wait, where do you want to do it then? I want to be like undercover. So like, you want to like go in the slide? Now in this playground, there was one of those like really big swirly slides that you guys mostly see in like most cartoons and most playgrounds, if anything. And I remember it was super big and it was made of like plastic. It wasn't like one of those metal ones. It was like one of those really plastic ones with the bolts that like may spark you sometimes if you like have enough friction going down it. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but it was one of those slides that sucked. And I remember me and her, we decided to basically go inside the slide and stop midway through because there was a section where it just kind of laid out. And me and her, we ended up doing the devil's tango in the slide. The amount of times I got sparked and my eggplant even got sparked and electrocuted was so many times, but I guess it kind of spiced up the devil's tango. Okay, no, in reality it was just super painful, but hey, at the end of the day, I was still doing it, wasn't I? And one thing led to another. I remember me and her, we ended up basically doing our thing, but out of nowhere, security ended up walking around the playground. Now usually, like I said, this was a city park, and it was a well-known city park, and when security comes around, well, chances are if you're doing something really naughty in the playground, you're gonna get in trouble. So I remember me and her, we ended up basically hearing like people walking around, and we saw a flashlight at the end of like the slide, and me and her, we just kind of sat in there, and me with my total eggplant out, I'm just like kind of sitting there like kind of worried. But this girl thought this was a perfect opportunity to start sucking on my eggplant, so I'm just kind of sitting there like, okay, great, so you're doing that while I'm on security watch? I don't know, it was super awkward and super weird. But honestly, after like 10 minutes later, we ended up basically seeing no one around, and we heard nothing. So me and her thought it was a perfect moment to basically go down the slide and basically put our clothes back on. Little did I know, when I ended up basically going down the slide and pulling up my pants, there were 2 security guards right at the entrance that saw me and her, and well, let's just say the 2 security guards ended up calling our parents, and we got in severe trouble. Honestly, word got out to the school that I ended up doing it with her on the playground. She denies it, but me, honestly, I didn't care. I ended up just denying it with her because, well, I didn't want to ruin her high school reputation. But hey, that was like, what, 8 years ago now? She has no high school reputation anymore, so why not tell the story? Anyways, guys, that is basically it for today's embarrassing story. Make sure you guys press that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Seriously, it means a lot when you guys do this. And like I always say, just follow for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys. I remember when I finally met up with this girl at recess, out of nowhere, she ends up walking up to me saying, Baba, I've been waiting for this moment for like a long time. Wait, what do you mean? And one thing leads to another. She ends up basically taking off everything, and me and her, we ended up doing the devil's tango, and we had to do it in less than 10 minutes. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another insane story. So today's story all starts off back when I was in high school, and this was my grade 10 year. Now in grade 10, I was a massive player. As you guys may know on the channel, I've told many stories about me doing it basically everywhere and anywhere. But this one day specifically was one of the most weirdest days ever, because I remember one time during school in my grade 10 year, I was just hanging out in the morning. Just me and my friends were all sitting together and just talking. And one of my friends were looking at me, asking me the question that they're all pretty curious about for some reason. And that was, yo, Bubba, bro, bro, have you ever done it in school? What do you mean? Like, done the Devil's Tango at school, bro? At that moment, I ended up looking at him and basically telling him to quiet down because I didn't want other people in the cafeteria to hear what in the world he was saying. But I ended up basically quietly whispering to him, yeah, bro, of course I have, many times. And he looks at me and starts laughing. He starts laughing and saying, what? Bro, how would you do it in school? There's no way. And I ended up telling him like one of the stories that are funny enough on this channel as well. And as I was telling him the story, there was a girl that ended up walking up to us and she looks at both of us saying, wait, Bubba, are you serious? Have you actually like done that? Is he telling the truth? At that moment, all my friends ended up looking and they're like, yeah, there's a chance he probably did, honestly, knowing him. And things at the table got super awkward to the point where the girl ends up looking at both of us and says, Bubba, I don't believe you. There's no way that story is real. Like, absolutely no way. It makes no sense. At that moment, I ended up just putting my hands up and saying, I mean, one day I'll prove it to you, but what can I say? I'm just that bold, I guess. I don't really know. And me and my friends, we all stood up and started walking away. As we started walking away, though, I ended up getting a notification on my phone. And the notification was from the girl trying to follow me on IG, which, by the way, all of you guys should do since I'm known as the hottest guy on earth. Going on, though, I remember when I saw this, my friends all ended up walking behind me, looking into my phone saying, bro, there's no way, bro. She actually followed you after that? I think she wants it, Bubba. Nah, there's no way, is what I said. And well, one thing led to another. When I went to my first class, I ended up just sitting down with all my friends, and we were all just basically doing the basic schoolwork that we get day to day from our teacher. But in the middle of doing my homework, out of nowhere, and I mean out of nowhere, I ended up getting a DM on my phone. She ends up DMing me, and she ends up asking me, Bubba, I have a question. Be honest with me. Is that story actually real? What, of me doing it at school? Yeah, is what I ended up texting her back. And what this girl replies was so weird because she ends up asking me for proof. Now, I know many people ask for proof on my stories, and it's not like I just have live footage of my life just at that moment of me doing all these crazy things. So I ended up telling her, well, there's no really way for me to prove it if I'm being honest with you. Okay, well, I want you to show me then. Like, show me where you would do it. You want me to show you where I would do it? Yeah, like, just show me at recess. Now, I'm gonna say something real quick. In high school, we didn't actually call recess. We called it nut break. So the reason I'm saying recess is because I think it's a more common word throughout the world to have recess than nut break. But I don't know. What do you guys call your recesses? I know some people call it different things, so I'm just curious. Comment down below. But going on with the story, I remember I ended up telling her how I wouldn't want to show her where the spot was. Because if I'm being honest, in my grade 10 year, I've used the same spot in my high school many times. So me telling her my spot, I'm worried that she might one day use it the same time I want to use it. So I ended up just texting her saying, I mean, I could prove it to you, but like, I don't want you using my spot if I'm being honest. What? Bubba, that's so gross. It's school. It doesn't matter. Well, I mean, it's a pretty good spot is what I told her. And she finally ended up folding and saying, okay, fine. Just like show me it. And I promise I won't use it ever. You promise? Yeah, I promise. I won't even step foot in your spot if I ever end up using it. I promise you. Okay. So if you use it, you're never going to use it again, right? Like you'll be banned from the spot. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. You're making this sound like a child's game. Like just hurry up. I remember at that moment, the bell finally rang for recess and I ended up walking towards the classroom that this girl was at. When I got there, she looks at me and saying, okay, so where is it? Is it here? What? In front of your classroom? No, are you dumb? Okay, well, where is it? Show me, Bubba. So me and this girl, we end up basically going to the spot, as I would call it. But basically, the spot was just a place under the staircase that no student went to. It was like a secret staircase that the school had that was like a fire exit. But I would only use it since the alarm didn't work for the door as the spot. So I ended up taking her to the cafeteria upstairs and basically went to the fire exit that took us to the staircase. When I took her in there, I remember she was shocked that the alarm didn't work for that door. And she looks at me saying, wait, so you just do it in here? Yeah. Why? Well, I mean, like, it's insane. Like, I never thought, like, this place would work. Like, what? I don't think anyone goes in here. Well, yeah, that's kind of the point. If I'm in the middle of doing the Devil's Tango, I don't want people walking in on me. At that moment, she starts smiling at me really weird. And she starts getting really close to me. And she says, well, am I allowed to use the spot if I'm using it with you? At that moment, I didn't say anything, but me and her, we went straight to doing the Devil's Tango. And I'm not gonna lie, it was insane because we ended up doing it basically on recess, and recess only lasts like 10 minutes. So I had to basically finish and do the Devil's Creep in less than 10 minutes. I'm gonna say this right now, it's usually impossible. But I remember like when the bell rang, me and her were still in the middle of doing the Devil's Tango. But me, I had a science lab I had to hand in, so I ended up basically kind of pushing her off me, and I said, okay, I gotta get to class. Honestly, like, we can meet up at lunch if you want. Oh, no, I can't meet up at lunch. I have a meeting with my leadership crew. Do you want to, like, maybe, like, I don't know, just come back tomorrow at recess? What? You want to do this again tomorrow? Yeah, I mean, like, why not? Sure, I guess, if you want. And me and the girl, we ended up basically leaving from the main fire exit that actually took us outside so no one would see us. But the next day is where things got really insane, because I remember the next day ended up finally coming around, and I ended up meeting up with my friends in the morning once again in the cafeteria. We were sitting down once again talking, having basic guy conversation, I'm not gonna lie. And one of my friends that basically asked the same question yesterday said the same thing again, where he says to me, Bubba, be honest, bro, like, I'm just curious, where in the school would you even do it? I don't know, there's spots, I guess, is what I told him. And my other friend that was sitting with us ends up as well saying, Bubba, bro, there's no way that story's real, man. Like, everyone's talking about it, and like, I'm gonna be honest, it's totally fake. Right as he says it was totally fake, I remember the girl that I did yesterday at recess walks up to my table group that I was sitting with and says to all of us, well, I don't know, I think it's real. What? Literally yesterday you were saying it was fake. Oh no, I think it's real now. And she ends up walking away. At that moment, all the guys look at me and they were confused, because one day she was basically saying how it's not true, and the next day she's saying it is. At that point, they got suspicious, and they had every right to. I mean, it was very out of the blue. But I remember the bell rang for our first class, and when I went to class, I remember I ended up getting messages on my phone about how this girl was excited to basically meet up with me at recess, and I just kind of made it so I didn't really care or seemed cool about it, even though I was also pretty excited. Even to the point where I actually ended up getting bricked in class, but I mean, who hasn't done that? Going on from there, I remember the bell finally rang, and I ended up basically going straight to the spot because I didn't want to pick her up from her classroom since she already knew where the spot was. I mean, when I finally got there, I saw she was already there, not wearing anything, ready for me to do the Devil's Tango. So I remember me and her, we started doing it in the spot that we had, and well, one thing led to another out of nowhere. And I mean, seriously, out of nowhere, my buddy that was asking me about the spot earlier ends up walking through the door, and he sees me and her doing it, and he says, yo, wait, what? You're doing it right now? Seriously, at recess? I remember me and her, we got like super shocked, and we ended up putting our clothes on as fast as we could. And I even got to the point where I ended up pushing him out of the room with my eggplant hanging out. It was super awkward and super weird. And I remember after me and her got fully dressed and ready, me and her, we ended up coming out of the fire exit that led to the school. And my buddy was just standing there just in shock that the story was real. And my buddy looks at me saying, wait, so you guys were just in there doing it? Like, seriously, at school? I mean, yeah, I told you that was the spot, or at least one of my spots. At that moment, they both looked at me and were like, wait, what? There's more? It was super funny, and I didn't really know what to say to them. But honestly, I already had a pretty awkward experience there. So I ended up just walking away and continued with my school day. And ever since then, my friends always knew that my stories were real, just like this one. So if you guys enjoyed these stories, follow for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys. All right, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome back to another insane story. So this story takes place back, actually, funny enough, 2 years ago. At this age, I remember I was basically supposed to be getting a job and basically getting ready for college, but me, I didn't do any of that because my dream was to become a YouTuber, and thanks to you guys, that dream came true. But having so much free time on my hands after recording a bunch of videos, I remember I would always like to go out and hang out with friends. But then I remember one time when me and all my friends were just sitting in a car, bored as hell, my friend ended up looking at us saying, yo, bro, why don't we go to a water park? What? A water park? We were all super confused on why he said that, but then he ended up saying, dude, trust me, bro, it's summertime and a lot of hot girls go to the water park. You don't want to miss it, bro. And at that point, I remember all of us looked at each other and we took his word for it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna say no to a cool water park. Going on from there, I remember basically we all ended up going home, getting our swim trunks on, and basically getting ready to go to the water park. I also remember I texted some girls to see if they want to go to the water park with me, because there was no way that I was really gonna risk going to a water park and not seeing any girls, because I'm gonna be honest, I'm not really the water park kind of guy, if you know what I mean. Anyways, I remember basically we all got ready, and when we did, we all ended up driving down to the water park, and we got there a bit early. I remember when we were there, it was like 3 in the afternoon, and there were a lot of kids in the water park. And me, as a 19-year-old at the time, I didn't think it was really cool to go inside the water park when there's a bunch of children inside. Like, in my opinion, that's kind of weird. So I remember I kind of just held back and started going on my phone and scrolling scrolling through TikTok. But as I was doing that, I remember out of nowhere around like 5:30, so 2 hours later, a bunch of little kids ended up leaving the water park and the sky was getting dark. I remember as the sky was getting dark, me and my friends were looking at each other thinking it was time to go home, but the water park was still on. We were really confused at first, and then my buddy ends up telling all of us, dude, trust me, man, this is where things get good. Just watch what's gonna happen. And then out of nowhere, boom, a Jeep pulls up into the parking lot with a bunch of girls on it, and there were like 7 girls just going into the water park in their bikinis. It was like a scene straight out of Baywatch. It was so majestic and so awesome to see those cherries jiggle as they go into the water park. I was actually surprised. And I remember as we were seeing this go down, me and the boys got really excited. And I think some of us got bricked up, but I'm not sure. I wasn't looking, I swear. Later on, I remember I was like basically going around the water park, running around, having fun, and also I got my water gun to shoot at, you know, people with. I guess you could say I was kind of the rebel. And as I was shooting people with them, I remember some girls would end up chasing me because I accidentally shot them, and it was actually pretty cool to get chased by girls. I literally felt like I was in grade 5 again. That sounds weird, but you guys know what I mean. After a bit though, I remember me and my friends, we ended up grouping up with these group of girls, and we all basically started hanging out together. We all ate together, we all chilled together, and at the same time, we all just started hanging out at the water park getting soaking wet. And don't get me wrong, I like getting girls wet, but this was a whole different thing. Actually, okay, that sounded really weird. YouTube, don't demonetize this video. Anyways, going on with the story, I remember after a while, a lot of the girls were getting cold, and they ended up putting their towels on and basically laying down on the grass. And me and the boys, we all ended up hanging out with them because we were all basically becoming friends at that point. But I remember there was one girl in this group that was, well, really, how do I put this, thirsty. It became so awkward when me and her started talking to each other because she would always bring up random stuff like, so like, you have a really nice 6-pack. Oh my God, you're so attractive. Like, look at you. And I remember it became super weird to the point where I remember I told her, hey, yo, listen, you need to chill. Like, you know, like, I get you like me, but like, gotta relax. I remember when I said that, one of her friends ended up coming up to me saying, okay, dude, listen, she's literally into you, and we already know that you're bricked up from looking at us, so just like, go hang out with her. At this point, it sounded like I was being peer pressured to literally go do the devil's tango with her. And then I remember I basically told them, okay, yo, chill. Listen, I think she's cute, yeah, but like, you know, don't push me into it. I remember all the girls ended up rolling their eyes at me and ended up walking away. These girls were really sassy, and I'm not gonna lie, I thought high school was behind them, but it seemed like they still act like high schoolers. And yes, all of them were above the age of 19, by the way. Don't get it twisted, all right, guys? Anyways, going on, I remember afterwards, I started hanging out with the girl that really liked me, and I ended up adding her on Snapchat. And when I did, I remember me and her were just sitting beside each other, just talking about life and talking about what we wanted to do. I remember she ended up telling me that how she wants to become a doctor and all this stuff, like most girls want to, I guess. And then I remember I ended up telling her my dream of becoming a YouTuber, and as usual, she ended up saying, oh, okay, that's pretty cute, I guess. Whatever that means, like, sure, whatever. And then I remember it got to the point where the water park ended up turning off, and a lot of people started leaving. The boys started leaving, and at the same time, her friend group started leaving. But then afterwards, I remember I told her, hey, if you want to stay longer, like, I can just drive you back home. Because at this point, I was actually getting into her, and she was actually, like, you know, actually really hot. And then I remember she ends up looking at me saying, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. So I remember she ended up getting up and going to the bathroom. I thought, to be honest, she was ditching me, so I ended up getting my towel and putting my shirt back on and getting ready to leave. But as I was heading for my car, I remember I saw this girl ended up sending me a Snapchat of her in the bathroom, and it was literally a photo of her cherry saying, you want to enjoy these tonight? At that point, I already knew I was in, but there was no way I was going to take her to her house because she has parents at home, and I also have parents at my house. So I remember afterwards, I ended up walking up to the girl afterwards when she came out of the bathroom saying, yo, listen, I don't know how we're going to do this, but like, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I can't take you back to my place. So I was being brutally honest. And if I'm being real with you guys, I was planning not even to do the devil's tango at all. But then I remember she said, well, I mean, I just canceled my ride. So like, do you want to just go do it in the water park instead? Like, why not? Like, we might as well just do it at the water park. No one's there. Okay, I guess is what I told her. And then me and her, we ended up going to the water park, and we literally ended up doing the devil's tango while we were standing on hard cement and basically doing it. It was pretty awkward at first, but I'm not gonna lie, since it was really late at night and the water park was off, it was not like, you know, we were gonna get caught. So I remember we just kept doing it, and it became like half an hour later. And then one thing I realized is that randomly out of nowhere, the park lights turned on and we were freaking out. It was weird because it was only like 10 p.m. at night, and for some reason the lights came on, and it was super awkward because I remember me and her just started looking at each other thinking, okay, it's maybe time to go. So I remember I ended up going to my car, and she ended up coming in my car with me and basically ended up driving her home. I drove her straight home, and afterwards she ended up telling me, I had a lot of fun today. Good, I hope so, is what I told her. And then afterwards she ended up getting out of my car, coming up to my window, and then making out with me through my car door. Pretty awkward, but then she ended up leaving, going back to her house, and yeah, I guess that was basically it. I remember I ended up driving home, and I ended up telling the boys what happened, and none of them believed me, but you know what? It is what it is. Anyways, guys, that's basically it for today's story, so make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Seriously, means a lot when you guys do, and on top of that, join the Discord server down below. And like I always say, follow for more embarrassing but crazy stories. All right, peace out, guys.